I stood alone at my father's hospital bedside as he slipped away. In nearby rooms, people were surrounded by family, holding hands, whispering love. My room was silent. No friends, no husband, no one. Not even Eric. No calls, no messages, not a single check in. Just me. And right after the doctor announced the time of death, a nurse handed me a sealed envelope. My father's handwriting on the front, sharp, deliberate. I didn't open it. Couldn't. I just held it like it might explode. That was the moment the ground shifted beneath me. I didn't cry. I couldn't. What I felt wasn't sadness. It was something colder, sharper. A pressure I didn't recognize, building behind my ribs. The funeral was 3 days later. Eric didn't show. Claimed he was swamped with work. Texted me like he was canceling lunch. I stood in the wind, at the edge of the grave, while the priest said words I didn't hear. I kept thinking about the late night calls from my dad over the past few months. The ones where he told me something didn't feel right, that I needed to look closer, that charm could be a mask, that some people wear love like armor, but wield it like a weapon. That night, I opened the envelope. He kept it simple. If I was reading the letter, he was gone, and it was my turn to wake up. Taped to the inside was a small brass key. I recognized it immediately, his old safety deposit box. He hadn't mentioned it in over a year. The next morning, I went to the bank, said my name, showed my ID. 5 minutes later, they placed the box in front of me. My hands were shaking. I opened it. Inside were three things: a USB stick, a photograph, and a hotel receipt. The photo hit like a punch. Eric, my husband, was sitting on someone's lap, hers. Ava, my best friend since college, her arms around him, lips on his neck, hand deep between his legs like she owned him. The receipt showed multiple hotel visits, all recent, all paid with my credit card. I didn't even need to look at the flash drive to know what it was. My father hadn't just left a goodbye. He left evidence. He left the truth. When I got home, Eric was in the kitchen, wearing my father's scarf, the one I'd told him not to touch. Just seeing it made my skin crawl. I asked if he'd really been working the day of the funeral. He didn't even look up. Said something about back-to-back meetings, like I was asking about dry cleaning. Then I asked him about the hotel, the Emerson, with Ava. He froze. The spoon dropped into the cup, but he didn't look shocked, just inconvenienced. He glanced at me, shrugged, and said I'd gone through his things. No denial, no shame, like I'd caught him leaving dishes in the sink. I told him he cheated. That's when he leaned against the counter, crossed his arms, and looked me straight in the eye. He told me I'd been too wrapped up in grief to notice anything. Said he needed something alive, something that didn't smell like mourning. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I just stood there, staring at the man I used to love, realizing he was never mine to begin with. He looked amused, told me to check the flash drive if I really wanted to be shocked. And then he walked away, humming. That's when I realized this wasn't just betrayal. This was war. I didn't sleep that night, not because I couldn't, but because I refused. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smirk, that smug, casual grin that used to charm me and now felt like a blade under my skin. I sat in the dark, gripping the flash drive like it was ticking. At 3:17 a.m., I finally plugged it into my laptop. There was one folder. It had my name on it. Inside, screenshots, videos, voice recordings. My father hadn't just suspected something. He knew. He had been watching, collecting, quietly preparing for the moment I'd need it most. The first file showed texts between Eric and Ava. They mocked me, mocked my tears, my grief, said I cried like it was a performance, like I was pathetic for mourning the only man who'd ever stood up for me. They laughed about it, called me weak. Another file was security footage, grainy but clear enough. Eric and Ava, in an elevator at a hotel, his hand up her skirt, her mouth on his neck. She was wearing the bracelet I gave her for her birthday. I used to think it meant something. The next file was a phone recording. My father must have captured it on speaker. Ava's voice was sharp, cold. She said Eric was close to cracking, that after the funeral, she'd start pushing me to sell the house. Then they'd split the money. Eric agreed, said I trusted him more than my own lawyer. I closed the laptop and just sat there, the room spinning. Not because of what I saw, but because of what I'd been planning. A new house, a fresh start. I had even bought a little baby journal. We'd been talking about trying soon. Turns out he never wanted a child. He wanted access, control, leverage. At sunrise, I stepped outside barefoot into the cold. I stood still, trying to make sense of anything at all. Then my phone buzzed. It was a text from Eric, asking if we had milk, and casually adding that he might invite Ava over later to talk. Said he figured I'd be fine with it. He didn't even try to hide it anymore. When he came downstairs a few hours later, wearing my hoodie like he hadn't just burned our life to the ground, I didn't say a word at first, just watched him pour his coffee. Then I asked, flatly, if Jason was still coming over. He shrugged, like it was no big deal. Said they had things to sort out, that he might want more than just fooling around. I let the silence stretch, and then I reminded him. I buried my father alone. He wasn't there. Neither was she. He didn't flinch, just said I was too emotional. That's why he stopped trying. I took a step closer and looked him dead in the eye. Do you know how many people I've lost in my life? But none of them tried to erase me while they were still alive. He blinked, asked what the hell that meant. I told him it meant the game was over, that he was done playing it, in my house. He laughed again, told me it wasn't just mine, said half of it belonged to him, that soon the other half would too. What he didn't know was that my father had already seen him coming. Everything, this house, my business, was moved into a trust months ago. He couldn't touch any of it. I didn't argue. I just walked upstairs, pulled out the documents from the deposit box, printed every screenshot, every message, every photo. Then I taped them all to the fridge. 10 minutes later, there was a knock. Ava. I opened the door without a word, told her he was in the kitchen. She walked in, heels clicking, confident as ever. Until she saw the fridge, she stopped cold. Her eyes scanned each image, each message. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. Eric turned from the sink and went pale. You're insane, he muttered. I smiled. Let it sit there. Ava turned to me, furious. Asked if I did this. No, I said. My father did. And in that moment, it was like he was still in the room. They didn't know what to say. They stood there, unraveling. And I hadn't even started yet. They tried to regain control. Ava snapped first. She laughed, a brittle, manic sound, and said none of it mattered. That I could plaster a wall with my little tantrum, but it wouldn't change a thing. I didn't flinch. I told them copies were already with my lawyer. That wiped the smirk right off her face. Eric turned to her, alarmed, asked if she knew about this. She stayed silent, lips pressed tight. That silence said everything. He started yelling at her. She snapped back. It got loud, fast. Accusations flying, insults sharpened by panic. The betrayal they shared was now turning inward. Two rats clawing at each other when the ship started to sink. I let them scream. I stood in the middle of my kitchen, watching the show like it was a cheap play I didn't pay for. Ava knocked over a glass. Eric shoved a chair. It felt surreal watching them destroy themselves in the space I had once called safe. When their noise finally slowed, I stepped forward and placed 2 envelopes on the counter. They asked what they were. I didn't answer right away. Let them squirm. Then I told Ava it was an eviction notice. Eric's was a restraining order. He flipped his open. Read it. His face flushed red with disbelief. You can't be serious. I didn't blink. Try me. Ava stormed toward me, her eyes full of fire. You don't get to do this. I already did. You're weak, she spat. You fall apart. You cry. You're not built for this. I leaned in. That was the version of me you knew. The one who trusted you. The one who thought you loved me. Eric had already started backing toward the door. His bravado was gone. All that was left was fear. I didn't sign up for this, he muttered. Shut up, Ava snapped, turning on him. You're nothing, just a side piece who begged for this. I almost laughed. Watching them collapse under their own weight was better than any revenge I'd imagined. She turned to me one last time, hissing that she'd see me in court, that she'd take everything, that she'd ruin me. I told her she was too late. My father had made sure of it. He didn't just leave me assets. He left me protection. He left me a future they couldn't corrupt. She cursed, shoved Eric's arm, and stormed out. He followed, avoiding my eyes. The door slammed behind them. And for the first time in what felt like forever, the house was still. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was from the nurse at the hospital. She sent a picture. My father, smiling. In his hand, that envelope. The message read, he said you'd need this. He said you'd know what to do. That was when I broke. Not for Eric, not for Ava, but for the man who had believed in me when no one else had. The man who saw the storm coming and made sure I wouldn't drown. The man who saved me by giving me the truth. And I wasn't done yet. The house felt like a crime scene, not because of what they did while they were here, but because of what almost happened, what I almost gave away without realizing it. I spent the next hour in silence, sweeping up broken glass, bagging up everything Ava had left behind. Her coffee mug, her scarf, her perfume bottle, everything she'd touched felt poisoned. I threw it all away, no hesitation. By noon, I was sitting on the couch, staring at the fridge, at the chaos I'd posted there, like evidence in a courtroom. Then I stood up and peeled each photo down, one by one. Not because I wanted to forget, but because I didn't need the reminder anymore. I had the truth now, and I had work to do. I started with the bank, froze every joint account. Then I had my lawyer file for a temporary injunction on any financial move Ava might try to make. She always thought she was the smartest person in the room. She underestimated what heartbreak can teach a person. That evening, I went to visit my father's grave. The sky was gray. The ground was wet. I sat on the cold stone bench and just breathed. I whispered to him, told him he was right, about Eric, about Ava, about all of it. I told him I thought I was building a life. Turns out I was just laying the foundation for betrayal. The wind picked up, it didn't answer, but something in it felt like understanding. On the drive home, I passed Eric's gym. I almost kept going. Then I saw his car, parked crooked, like he didn't even care. A week ago, I might have gone in, might have screamed, might have slapped him. But that wasn't me anymore. Rage is easy. I was done with easy. The next morning, Ava was served with the official divorce papers while she was having brunch with her sister. I didn't just file. I ordered a full financial audit, forensic level. Every dollar she touched, traced, and cataloged. By noon, her lawyer called mine, asking to set up a meeting. That same afternoon, I posted one photo to social media. My father's old watch resting on a wood table. Simple caption. Some things are worth protecting. Some people are not. I didn't tag anyone. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. The internet did the rest. Within a day, the comments flooded in. Friends, strangers, people pieced things together. Ava knew it too. Her silence wasn't legal strategy. It was shame. Eric shut down his gym's Instagram. People were talking. Clients stopped showing up. But I never responded, never said a name, never offered a single word in my defense. Silence, I discovered, can be the loudest form of power. 2 days later, I got a heads up from my assistant at the office. Ava had shown up, uninvited, said it was urgent, brought her lawyer. I walked into the conference room expecting venom. But what I saw was something else entirely. She looked wrecked, pale, hollow-eyed. Her voice cracked when she said my name, said we'd both made mistakes. I didn't sit down. I told her this wasn't a conversation. It was a final transaction. She tried to interrupt. Her lawyer tried to negotiate. I laid it out clearly. She was walking away. No claim to the house, no alimony, no share in the business. Nothing. She looked stunned, tried to laugh it off. Then I handed her a transcript of one of her own voicemails, one where she told Eric they'd take everything from me once I broke. Her lawyer turned to her slowly. You didn't mention this. Her face drained. She turned back to me, voice soft, begged for a second chance, said she never meant to hurt me that badly. I didn't speak. I just walked out. I was done letting her rewrite the story. 2 weeks passed. Not a word from Ava. No calls. No texts. She vanished from my life like a ghost I'd finally stopped feeding. Eric, on the other hand, tried to crawl back. 3 texts, 2 emails, 1 voicemail, left at 2:08 in the morning. Slurred, clumsy, pathetic. He said he never meant for things to go that far. That Ava had told him I didn't love him anymore. That I was already gone inside. Dead inside. I saved that message, not for evidence, but as a reminder. That's what I was to them. A disposable shell. A woman lost in grief. Easy to manipulate. Easy to push aside. What they didn't realize, what my father knew, is that I wasn't broken. I was sharpening. Quietly. In silence. In rooms they never entered. While they whispered and schemed, I was building something stronger. By then, the divorce process was moving fast. Ava didn't contest anything. Her lawyer must have realized the mountain of evidence would bury them both if I ever chose to go public. She walked away with nothing. Not a cent from the house, no stake in the business, no leverage. But I wasn't finished. My father hadn't only left me financial protection. He left me his journals. 6 months of handwritten entries, notes, observations, Page after page of what he saw and felt during his final year. Times Ava came home late. Days Eric's car appeared 2 streets over. Dates, times, emotions. It was all there. He hadn't just documented betrayal. He had witnessed it with the clarity of a man who knew what loss really looked like. So I did something with it. I launched a foundation in his name, a nonprofit for people betrayed during their most vulnerable moments, during grief, trauma, loss. I called it the Leonard Project. Within days, it spread. The story, the message, it resonated. People connected. Donations came in. Letters poured through my inbox. I never mentioned Ava, never named Eric, but I didn't need to. The truth, real truth, has a way of echoing without anyone shouting. A few days later, there was a knock at my door. I already knew who it was, Ava. No makeup, wrinkled hoodie, a backpack over one shoulder. She looked like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. She asked for 5 minutes. I didn't speak, just stepped aside. She sat at the kitchen table, same spot where she once mocked me for grieving. She avoided the chair with the crack in it, the one she and Eric had broken during one of their secret game nights. She said she'd lost everything. I told her no. She gave it away. She nodded, said she didn't come to argue. Just to say, she didn't even know if sorry was the right word anymore. She looked me in the eye and admitted it, said she liked the attention. Said Eric made her feel alive when our home started to feel cold, that she mistook emptiness for passion. But what caught me off guard, what actually stuck, was what she said next. I never thought you'd fight back like this. I told her the truth. I didn't fight back. I just stopped pretending I deserved to be treated like I didn't matter. She nodded again. Her eyes welled up, but I didn't flinch. She stood to leave, said she didn't expect forgiveness, just needed me to hear her. As she reached the door, I said one more thing. My father pitied you. She froze. He said you were a shadow wearing a smile, and he hoped you'd leave before I forgot what the light looked like. She didn't say anything, just walked out, and this time I didn't close the door softly behind her. I locked it. The next morning felt different, not because the sun shined brighter or the air smelled cleaner, but because the noise was finally gone. That low, constant hum of tension that had become normal. Gone. Replaced by something I hadn't felt in a long time. Quiet. Not peace. Not yet. But the first taste of it. I took a long shower. The kind where you stop keeping track of time. Where you let the water hit your face until your thoughts dissolve. For the first time in months, I wasn't replaying old conversations. I wasn't crafting comebacks. I wasn't calculating revenge. I was just still. Later that day, I went to the office. Lindsay, my assistant, handed me a coffee and smiled. You look like you slept, she said. I did, I told her. First time in weeks. We had a meeting about the foundation. The Leonard Project was growing faster than I ever expected. Emails were pouring in, from people I'd never met, from men discarded in the middle of their grief, from women manipulated during tragedy, from people who had trusted the wrong hand while mourning the right one. Every story made all the dark hours worth it. Back at my desk, I scrolled through messages. One caught my eye. No subject, no sender, just one line. You don't know the whole story. Attached was a video file. At first, I thought it was a prank, maybe Eric, maybe Ava. One last attempt to twist the knife. But curiosity is a stubborn thing. I clicked it. Grainy surveillance footage from a hallway in the hospice facility, dated 3 weeks before my father died. Ava was standing outside my dad's room, alone, crying. Not crocodile tears, real ones. She didn't see the camera, or maybe she didn't care. She paced, pulled at her sleeves, looked like she was falling apart. Then Eric appeared. He grabbed her arm and tried to pull her away. She resisted. He said something. She shouted back. He dragged her down the hall. The clip ended. I just sat there, frozen. Why was she there? Why was she crying? Why did he drag her away? The video made no sense, not with what I thought I knew. A few minutes later, another message came through. It was from one of the nurses. She said my father had asked them to film that day, that he had instructed them to send it to me, but only after, and there was another attachment, a scanned letter, my father's handwriting again. In it, he said Ava had come to say goodbye, that she cried, that she asked how to fix what she'd broken, that Eric had pulled her away before she could speak, that he believed just for a moment she was ready to choose me. He didn't forgive her, but he saw her try. The letter didn't erase the betrayal. It didn't undo the damage. but it cracked something open in me. A small fracture in the clean, simple narrative I'd built to survive. I didn't call Ava, didn't respond to the nurse. But that night, I poured 2 glasses of bourbon, one for me and one for my father, the man who, even from the grave, was still guiding me through the darkness. And I asked myself the question that kept spinning in my mind. If Eric hadn't stopped her, would everything have been different? Or would I still be sitting here alone? The days that followed were strange, not heavy like before, just hazy, like standing in a fog between 2 conflicting truths, not knowing which one to trust. I kept seeing Ava in that video, crying, reaching. It didn't match the woman who mocked me, who played me, but people are rarely just one thing. She was cruel, but maybe she was trapped too. Still, her tears didn't loosen the knot in my chest. They only made it harder to untie. Then came the call. Unknown number. It was Ava's sister, Lauren. She told me Ava had stopped eating, stopped talking, that she was staying with her now. She said Ava told her everything, that she was going to leave Eric, that she had planned to come clean, that she was scared of what he'd do if she walked away, not scared of losing me, scared of him. Lauren wasn't calling for forgiveness. She said I deserved the truth from someone who wasn't trying to manipulate it. I listened. Then I hung up. I didn't cry. I didn't shake. I just sat in silence, staring out the window. It would have been easier if Ava had just been a monster, but now I had to accept that she was human, broken, selfish, and at one point maybe genuine. That night, I drove past all the places that used to mean something. The cafe where we used to sit for hours. The bookstore where she made me laugh until I cried. The bench where she told me about her father dying. Every stop, a memory. Every turn, a scar. When I got home, there was another message in my inbox, this one from her lawyer. It was her final statement, a letter. She admitted everything, said the affair started slow, just attention at first, then justification, then denial, then full betrayal. Said she didn't recognize herself anymore. Said Eric fed her lies and fear. She said she loved me, once, maybe still, but she was walking away now, for good, that I deserved peace, and that she would never be part of it again. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I deleted it. Not out of hatred, but because I didn't need it anymore. She was already gone. A month passed. Fall set in. The air turned sharp. The leaves changed fast, like grief, all at once. But fall ends. And unlike grief, I knew what to do with the season this time. The house stayed quiet, comfortably so. No slammed doors, no fake apologies, just the soft rhythm of someone learning to breathe again. I drank my coffee on the porch, read the news, not because I cared about the headlines, but because they didn't lie. The Leonard Project grew. Messages came in every day, from people like me, people who were left behind when they needed someone most. Not everyone made it, but I did. I never answered Ava's letter. I didn't have to. Some things don't need closure, just distance. Eric disappeared, deleted everything, probably moved across the country. Good, let him run. As for Ava, I don't know where she is. I hear she's in therapy. Not working, not dating. I don't hate her, but I don't forgive her either. Forgiveness is a gift I don't owe. Healing never required her repentance, only the truth. And I got that the moment I opened the envelope in that hospital room. It didn't just expose a lie. It gave me back my life. People say grief shows you who your real friends are. I think it does something deeper. It shows you who you are when everything falls apart, when the masks come off and the rooms go silent. That version of you, raw and unfiltered, that's the one you rebuild from. Now, I wake up before the sun. I run. I breathe deep. I laugh without reason. I turn the guest room into a library, found joy in the quiet. And sometimes, just sometimes, I think of Ava. Not with anger, not with regret, just with clarity. She was a storm, and I stood in the center of it for far too long. But storms pass, and I'm still standing. If you're in your own storm right now, hear this. Let it hurt. Let it burn. But when it's over, don't go looking for what broke you. Build something better, and lock the door behind you.